I was sitting at the kitchen table on what seemed like an ordinary Saturday morning watching my 6-year-old daughter Emma draw pictures with her crayons. The smell of pancakes filled the air, and I remember thinking how perfect everything looked from the outside. Then my wife Jessica came downstairs dressed in workout clothes, makeup lightly applied, and said something that would change everything. "You know what, Andy? You are nothing more than a co-parent to me. You are not my real match. You never were." Those words hit me like a punch to the stomach. 10 years of marriage, 10 years of waking up early to make breakfast, 10 years of being what I thought was a good husband, all reduced to that one sentence. But instead of arguing, instead of begging, I just nodded quietly and thought to myself, all right, if that is what you want, I can do that. I had no idea how much that one decision would change everything. Before I tell you how I became the most detached co-parent my wife ever asked for, I would love to know, where are you watching this from? Drop your city in the comments below, and if you have ever felt taken for granted in a relationship, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to hear how this story ends. Trust me, you will not see it coming. Now, let me take you back to where it all started, because you need to understand just how good I was at being a husband before I decided to stop trying. Jessica and I had been married for 10 years. We met back in college, one of those classic love-at-first-sight stories that everyone dreams about. She was studying marketing, I was deep into software development, and somehow we just clicked. We got married in a small ceremony on the outskirts of Portland, Oregon. I still remember her in that simple white dress, and me promising I would always take care of her. Emma was born 7 years ago, and I genuinely believed that was the happiest moment of my life. Everything seemed to fall into place perfectly. As the years went on, I became the primary caregiver. I worked from home as a software developer, which gave me flexibility with my schedule. Jessica was climbing the corporate ladder as a marketing manager, which meant long hours and late nights at the office. I did not mind. I woke up every morning at 6, made breakfast for Emma, got her ready for school, drove her there, picked her up, helped with homework, cooked dinner, and managed most of the household chores. I thought I was being a good husband, a good father. I was proud of the role I played in our family. I remember when Jessica got her big promotion about 3 years ago. I organized a small party at our house, invited her friends and coworkers, made all her favorite foods. She smiled that night, hugged me, and said, "Thank you." But looking back now, I realize she said it the same way you would thank a helpful assistant, not a partner. I just did not see it then. About 6 months before that Saturday morning, things started to shift. Jessica became distant. She would come home from work and immediately check her phone, smiling at messages I was not part of. When I asked who she was texting, she would say, "Just work stuff," and change the subject. At night, she would lie in bed facing away from me, no longer curling up against my chest like she used to. Our conversations became shorter, more transactional. She would ask about Emma, tell me about some project at work, but never ask about my day, my feelings, my life. Dinner times grew quieter. I would cook her favorite meals, trying to recreate the connection we used to have. One evening, I made her favorite lemon garlic chicken, set the table nicely, even lit candles. She sat down, looked at her phone, took a few bites, and said thanks, before going back to scrolling. I sat there watching her, feeling invisible in my own home. The realization crept in slowly that I was becoming a background character in our marriage. I tried to address it directly one Friday night after Emma went to bed. I sat down next to Jessica on the couch and said, "Jess, I feel like we are drifting apart. Is everything okay?" She glanced at me with this distant look in her eyes and said, "Everything is fine. You are overthinking." But her tone was cold, detached, like she was annoyed I even brought it up. That night I lay awake, feeling this invisible wall between us, wondering what I had done wrong. Then came that Saturday morning. The rain was falling lightly outside, creating a soft rhythm against the windows. I was at the stove making pancakes for Emma while she sat at the kitchen table drawing. Jessica came downstairs, looking put together, and I asked casually, "You look nice, going somewhere?" She replied, "Just meeting a friend for coffee." I suggested turning it into a family outing, maybe we could all go together. She stopped, turned to face me with visible irritation, and said, "Andy, can we talk? Honestly, for once." My heart started racing. "Of course," I said, "what is wrong?" She took a deep breath, glanced at Emma, who was focused on her drawing, then back at me. "You are a great dad." You do everything around the house. But you know what, Andy? You are nothing more than a co-parent to me. You are not my real match. You never were." Time seemed to freeze. I heard Emma asking if the pancakes were ready, but her voice sounded far away. My hands were shaking as I held the spatula. I looked at Jessica and managed to ask, "What do you mean?" She grabbed her purse and said flatly, "I mean exactly that. You are convenient. You are here. But you are not the person I am supposed to be with." Then she walked out the door without looking back. I heard her car start and drive away. I stood there in the kitchen, Emma still coloring peacefully, completely unaware that her mother had just dismantled our family with a single paragraph. I forced a smile and told my daughter, "Pancakes are ready, sweetheart." The rest of that day passed in a blur. I went through the motions of being a parent, playing with Emma, making lunch, reading her stories. But in my head those words kept echoing. Co-parent, not my real match. Everything I had done for 10 years, every early morning, every home-cooked meal, every sacrifice I made to support her career, all of it reduced to being convenient. Jessica came home that night around 9. She did not explain where she had been. I did not ask. That night I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, while Jessica slept beside me, or pretended to sleep. I thought about the last decade of my life, all the times I put her needs first. All the times I canceled plans with friends because she needed me home. All the times I supported her dreams while quietly setting aside my own. And for what? To be told, I was nothing more than a co-parent. Something shifted inside me. A thought crystallized in my mind. If that is all I am to her, then that is exactly what I will be. No more trying to be the perfect husband. No more going above and beyond. I would do my part as a parent, share the responsibilities, but nothing more. Let her see what it is like when I stop trying. For the first time in years, I felt a strange sense of determination settle over me. Monday morning arrived and I started my transformation. I woke up at 6, like always, but this time I only made breakfast for Emma. No coffee for Jessica, no fruit bowl, no toast with the jam she likes. When she came downstairs and looked around confused, she asked, "Where is my coffee?" I calmly replied, while helping Emma with her cereal. "I made breakfast for Emma." "You can make your own coffee." She frowned, but did not say anything, just grabbed a mug and made it herself. That evening, Jessica came home late as usual. Normally I would ask, "How was your day?" offer to heat up dinner, ask if she needed anything. This time, when she walked in, I simply said, from the living room, where I was helping Emma with a puzzle, "Emma's homework is done. She is upstairs." Jessica stood there for a moment, looking confused, and asked, "That is it? You are not going to ask about my day?" I looked up at her calmly and said, "Did you want me to?" She opened her mouth, closed it, then walked upstairs without another word. The next few days followed the same pattern. I stopped doing her laundry, only washed Emma's clothes and mine. I stopped tidying our bedroom, only kept Emma's room clean. I cooked meals for two, me and Emma. If Jessica wanted dinner, she would have to make it herself or order something. At first, she seemed annoyed but brushed it off like I was just being moody. She kept coming home late, kept texting that mysterious someone, kept acting like nothing had changed. By the second week, Jessica started noticing more. I stopped sitting with her in the evenings to watch television. After putting Emma to bed, I would go to my office, close the door, and either read work on learning a new coding language or call my best friend Marcus to catch up. One night, Jessica knocked on my office door and said, "Are you just going to hide in here all night?" I responded, without looking up from my book. "I am not hiding. I am giving you space. Is not that what you want?" That Saturday, I took Emma to the park without telling Jessica. When we were heading out the door, Jessica appeared and asked, "Are you guys going out? Why did you not tell me?" I replied casually, "Just taking Emma to the park." "You are busy anyway, right?" she protested. "I am not busy today." I shrugged and said, "Oh, well, we are leaving now. See you later." Emma grabbed my hand and we walked out. I could feel Jessica watching us from the window, but I did not look back. One evening, about 3 weeks into this new arrangement, Jessica tried to initiate conversation. She sat down next to me on the couch while I was reading on my phone. She started talking about her day, how work was crazy, how her boss was demanding. I gave a simple, without looking up. She stopped and asked, "Are you not going to ask about it?" I looked at her and said, "Do you want to tell me?" She seemed flustered and said, "Well, yeah, I guess." I replied okay, and waited. She told her story, but I only nodded occasionally without the follow-up questions or empathetic responses I used to give. The conversation died quickly, and she eventually got up and went upstairs looking frustrated. A few nights later, something shifted. I was already in bed reading when Jessica came in. She turned off the light and moved closer to me, placing her hand on my chest. It had been months since she had initiated any physical contact. I calmly said, "It is late. I have an early meeting tomorrow," and turned away from her. I could feel her lying there in shock, frozen. Neither of us slept well that night. By the second month, I started focusing more on myself. I joined a gym and began working out 5 days a week. Instead of waking up early to cook breakfast for the family, I woke up early to go running. I felt stronger, healthier, more alive than I had in years. I reconnected with Marcus and started meeting him for drinks every week. We went to see movies, watched sports at bars, did all the things I had stopped doing because I was too busy being the perfect family man. I also started buying new clothes. Nothing extravagant, just replacing the old, worn-out t-shirts and jeans I had been wearing for years. I got a new haircut that made me look younger. I lost about 15 pounds. One evening, when I walked past Jessica in the hallway, she stopped and said, "You look different." I smiled and said thanks, then kept walking. I did not elaborate. I did not need her validation anymore. Around this time, I started working on a new project at work with a woman named Lauren. She was 29, based in Seattle, funny and easy to talk to. We would chat about work initially, then gradually about life, hobbies, interests. It was refreshing to talk to someone who actually listened, who laughed at my jokes, who seemed genuinely interested in what I had to say. There was nothing romantic happening, but I enjoyed the connection. It reminded me what it felt like to be appreciated. One evening, Jessica walked into the living room and saw me smiling at my phone while texting. She asked sharply, "Who are you texting?" I looked up and said simply just a coworker. She waited for more information, but I did not offer any. The confusion and slight panic in her eyes was noticeable. She was not used to me having a life outside of her and Emma.